Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam. Today is Monday, I think. Is anybody lost in the holiday? What day is it? Who am I? Who are these children? How did I get here? Today's Monday. And guess what I did last night, everybody? I had a little pizza party at Kaustubha's house with the kids. Yeah. We showed up all sort of wretched, like Oliver Twists at his front lawn, at his front door, knocked on the door, and he and his wife, who's a cross between Julie Andrews and Mary Poppins, came out and
Mrs. Cunningham.
And Mrs. Cunningham, yeah. Came out and just made us incredible pizzas and fed my children. And then we drove back. I had a good holiday.
Good.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing good. Your nose is looking better.
You know what? It's the magic of the body.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
It does it on its own.
This should be on the headlines of CNN. Body rejuvenates itself, heals itself after horrific nose slicing accident. Look at this. I'm going to stick my face near the... It's reasonably good. Huh?
It's getting there.
The scab fell off. Now I need some of that magic sesame oil that Bobby was
that
talking
vitamin
about.
E. Mara has it, actually. She's got this really good stuff. I had a scar when we moved in here. I cut myself and she gave me this stuff, and it's like healing it like really fast.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is? Vitamin E?
Yeah, I sent you vitamin E, Kaustubha. I'll give you some of that too, Raghu.
You sent it to Kaustubha. His face is perfect.
That's why.
Why you sent it? Oh,
I would use it every day.
Since his childhood. Yeah, there's that, what's it called? Lotion you put on makes you look younger. What's that called?
I don't know.
Age
moisturizer?
Age defying, you know? Yeah. So I got to do something with this. The slashing of the nose did not help me. My beauty meter is like quick plunge.
No, it's coming back. Your beauty, your full beauty is being restored as we speak.
Oh, Krishna. And today we're heading the kids off. I'm taking the kids. We're going to Vermont, and we're going to Srinivas's Inn. There's a great devotee bed and breakfast.
Amazing.
Up in Vermont. It's not far from Kelly Skinner, and he's a devotee, and I'm excited because he's where can you go to a bed and breakfast where you can get prasad? Isn't that great?
Is it by a lake or anything like that?
It's by Sugarbush Mountain. It's in Waitsfield, Vermont.
Okay.
He's an old school, cool devotee.
He's really
great cook.
Very nice guy.
Sweet guy. Been around the block, and I'm excited to hang with him and bring my kids there.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So that's the latest.
All right. Meanwhile, we've got like a lot of work to do this week, because we, in our first year, we finished the first and second cantos. And now we have the opportunity to wrap up the third canto in exactly a year. but we gotta work this week. We gotta work out this week, and we have an announcement about timings this week, right?
Yeah.
The way that you said that worries me. That the agreement that we reached yesterday, but prior pizza party, you may be having second thoughts about.
Yeah. Pre-pizza party, I was like, I'll do whatever you want, Kaustubha. I'll do whatever you want. Post-pizza party, I'm like, well, I have the kids and I'm trying to be present. But you know what? They'll still be sleeping. So if we could do the show at 7
a.m.,
it would be okay. So sorry, you guys got fixed on 8. Tomorrow we're going to 7.
Okay, so this whole week we should probably be at 7, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 7 a.m. Eastern time, and then if we got 4 chapters to cover in 5 days.
And I may not be able to do the 31st.
Well, we're gonna try to make that work too.
What does that mean? Replacement
with
a drone?
No, I'm not gonna pull in a substitute, especially on the last day of the year to complete the thing. No, you gotta be there.
You can't get rid of me on New Year's Eve. All right, which chapter are we on, Mira?
What other announcements? Any other announcements?
Bhakti recovery group meetings today at 1 and 9:30.
Oh man. Okay. I texted Mara like on Christmas. I was like, I need the Bhakti recovery group login. And then I didn't log in. I didn't. I just sat outside and whimpered a little.
All right.
I was feeling emotional.
I just also want to mention that I did an interview on Nam Ross's late morning program podcast.
Yeah, I can't believe he asked you and didn't ask me.
Well, he wanted to do
a solo
What's
that about?
I don't know. Sorry. But, you got your Rogan.
Said, well, I'll do it. What's the plan with Raghunath? I'd like you separate than Raghunath. Is that okay?
In any case, it was released on Christmas Eve, so that's out there. I just shared it on Patreon for Patreon members, but if anyone wants to watch it, it's on YouTube.
Did you talk about wisdom and sages?
No, not so much. We talked a lot about the Bhakti Center.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And a little bit of my coming to the path of Bhakti story. You wanted a little bit of that too.
Okay. You tell your stabbing story?
No, we didn't go there.
Oh, man. You got to learn how to juice things up a little bit. You got to give the people what they want, like a tabloid, man. You want them to read these? You got to give them what they want.
All right.
Romance, violence.
Maybe next time.
Okay.
All right. You ready to get into this?
Yeah. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya, bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtiki, by regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee. All that is troublesome in the heart will be eradicated in loving service to the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmidatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances to their lotus feet.
Okay.
Mara, hit it.
Reading from Canto 3, Chapter 30, Text 1.
Chapter 30.
No, this may be a little too ambitious, but I think maybe we could cover 2 chapters today, Raghunath, okay?
I think we can cover about 2 verses before the squirrels kick in.
But
the good part is our squirrels are very transcendental. They're things generally devotees talk about.
Occasionally they are. But these chapters, now we got to prepare everyone for these chapters. These chapters are heavy. Like they're like, if you read these, one can easily walk away and say, like, why is it so negative?
Why are they negative? Why are those Krishna people so dark?
Yeah. But
I was like that too. I thought that too. They're so negative. They got to turn that frown upside down.
Yeah. Well,
the world's a great place.
Well, you see, that's the problem. You
gotta wait till you get into your 30s to fully really appreciate the material world is miserable.
Okay. So what these verses are saying is not
There's
saying
still
that
an
there's-
illusion of teen excitement and romance with the material world. Like, yes, I'll dance with you, material world. Let me have that dance.
Well, these verses are saying don't dance. These verses are saying wake up. How many lifetimes have we been going through these cycles? So it's a fact there's beauty in life and there's some happiness in life, and so, but even from another perspective, it's all miserable. If you actually knew what our potential was, if we were feeling our full potential, we'd be looking at what we're going through right now. Even the happy times here, we say, no, this is God, this is pitiful.
I'm with No Dance Chance, one of our Zoomers. I don't want to dance with the material world anymore.
That's right. Don't dance. And
Isn't it a great analogy though? Maya wants you to dance with her, or you can have that rasa dance with Krishna. That's the dance options.
yes. And so these verses, they're going to kind of just like say, they're going to give us the dark side. This is the material pessimism, right? Sometimes like someone is just like stuck in something. You got to say, hey, wake up, right? And you just start throwing out all like the problems. Look at the problems, take into account all the problems. And so there's other parts of Bhagavatam that are different, but these parts are going to read like a wake up call. They're going to like, shine the light on the problematic aspects of life and the cycles that we go through. We might feel like we're not going through right now, and we might completely forget about that. Well, it's going to remind us, hey, you only got so many days left in this life, and then you're going to take birth again. Are you ready for that? Wake up. So they're kind of like that. So this chapter,
it's interesting. The material world has tons of miseries in it. You just have to analyze it. There's disease. There's broken bones. There's heartbreak. There's your house could fall into a sinkhole. There's motorcycle gangs, or picking on you, whatever it is. There's lots of miseries of the material world, but we're not even putting into like the equation that, at least I don't. I was like, okay, those bad things in the material world. There's every chance your next life you could suffer tremendously. Like we're not even taking that into. I don't take that into account. I in the same sense, I don't say like, well, I'm going to go to heaven because I'm good. I don't take that into account either. I'm just thinking, I look at this world as this world, whatever the afterlife is, whatever. But there could be some severe butt whipping I get in my next life for all the God knows what I did in this life.
What's going to happen in these two chapters, this chapter and the next, is that it's going to show like what we go through in life, how we try to find our happiness, but how actually if we look at it from another angle, we'll see it's full of problems. And then it's going to talk about not only the life, but then death, and how the things that you do in life, how they affect you, how you feel at the moment of death, what death is like. And then you know where it's going to go, Raghu?
Where?
It's going to take us on the highway to hell. It's going to
It's my prom song.
Yeah. if you've lived this life where you've gone out and not cared so much about others, then all the suffering that you have to go through, and then the next chapter picks up with your next birth and what it's like even in the womb, and that there's suffering there, and that some people, if they're fortunate, even while they're in the womb, they can remember how they got here, and then you start to offer prayers, right? You start to offer prayers in that womb. And so then it's going to list the prayers in the womb. And then it's going to talk about when then you're born and you come back out and you get all caught up again. So these two chapters are really just like saying, this is a tough cycles we go through. Really, some people, you say this stuff and they're like, no, life is good. But some people, you tell them like, yeah, this is right. Like
there's certain times where you just feel like it becomes very obvious. Like I'm just going to start praying right now,
Yeah. Nothing left,
just like
right?
like every they say in a war no one's an atheist. Like you just start praying
in the foxholes.
Foxholes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, yeah.
That's
football game. Like. Football game. You're praying. Come on, really sick, vomiting, praying.
Okay. Now this first and the reason and the need for these chapters, we're going to get a really good clue. From the first verse. Now we were just talking about time at the end of the last chapter, the time factor, right? How it's moving everything, changing everything. You can't get around it. It's brutal. It's no one can stop. Now this first verse is going to talk about time, and it's going to tell why we need that makeup call. So why don't you get us started with the first verse, Raghu?
The personality of Godhead said, as a mass of clouds does not know the powerful influence of the wind, a person engaged in material consciousness does not know the powerful strength of the time factor by which he is being carried. Boom.
Right.
How powerful is that verse?
Boom, right? The
You don't
clouds are
even-
just getting blown all around.
Right.
We're getting
Just
blown
as-
around.
Yeah. This is a famous verse too. As a man, a massive clouds does not know the powerful influence of the wind, right? The clouds are moving. They don't appear to be moving, but they're moving.
Right.
A person engaged in material consciousness, right? You don't notice it.
Everything seems to be great. You're moving straight to death and then to hell and then to birth in a womb. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just like, but you don't even feel it.
Now, I was saying to my brother-in-law too, it's like, hey, you look great. Hey, you look great. We don't look like, we had a family gathering on Christmas. So it was like, yeah, you look great. You look great. We don't even realize that we're aging. That's the illusion, especially as we get older. You see it in the kids. The kids move like second hands. You don't see them in a year, and they've like grown a foot. But in the adults, you don't appear to be aging, but you're aging. We're moving like the hour hand, super slow, but it's moving.
Okay, so now the next couple verses will also speak more about time.
Text 2. Whatever is produced by the materialist with great pain and labor for so-called happiness, right? It's so-called because it's
So-called.
temporary, right? The Supreme Personality as the time factor destroys, and for this reason, the conditioned souls lament.
Text 3.
Text 3. I'm going to have to pull out a Shelter song. You know that, right?
No, we got to keep
The
moving.
Hands
No
Time.
songs
It's a
today.
good song. Maybe one of my best lyrics ever.
All right.
The misguided materialist does not know that this very body is impermanent, and the attractions of home, land, and wealth, which are in relationship to the body, are also temporary, right? These are the deepest rooted attachments, and probably family as well. Wealth, home, land, which are in relationship to that body, are also temporary. Out of ignorance only, they think everything is permanent.
It's kind of like we're kind of clueless sometimes, right? We're just
Clueless.
going along. Yeah, but we're
I
getting
mean, we
blown
understand.
like
Yeah,
the
I'm going to
cloud.
die. Yeah, of course I'm going to die. Sure, I'm going to die.
But the
we don't
gravity
realize
of it isn't sinking in.
No, it could like what's going to happen. It could happen this moment, today.
That's right. Now, the next two texts, 4 and 5, they're going to describe that even if you're in a terrible situation, you tend to think it's not that bad, but it's really bad. It's really
That's
like,
how Maya works. Right?
We'll
This
look
is
at-
horrible.
I mean, the example that's used sometimes is like, you look at and we don't have these so much in America, but like in India where you see like the pigs, right, the hogs, and they're like lying in the gutter, and that gutter is full of sewage, and they're lying in there just like rolling around in it, eating sewage. Now, if you talk to that hog, it's what are you talking about? Everything's great. And
You ever
we
see
look at it and
Kaustubha
say,
talk to pigs like that?
What's the matter with you?
What
Wake
do you do?
up!
What do you do? What's the...
Yeah. So
There's
these
a
verses
better
are
way
kinda
to
like
live. I mean, we can understand that if that analogy isn't too gross. Although I love the pig and stool analogy. If that analogy is just not clicking with you, what about you could probably maybe imagine yourself, or if you know someone who's addicted to something, and you try to say, "What are you doing with your life? You lost your job.
Leave
What are
me
you
alone,
doing?
man."
Why not let go of this bad habit you have? It's killing you. You lost your family. Your children got taken away from you. Are you crazy?" And they're thinking, "No, I'm great. I am great. I love this drug."
Just leave me alone, man. I don't want to hear this.
Right.
People
You see sometimes like people like, remember in the Lower East Side when you see those heroin addicts, they're dressed like in suits, but they've been worn for days, but they're just nodding out at 8 a.m. Very sad. And if you try to shake some sense into them, they're not going to get it. And so this is how it works with the gunas. We get covered by tamas and we think this is completely normal. This is great. That's how Maya works.
All right. Text 4 and 5. Hit it.
I know you're trying to push me along.
Keep going.
I love it. Let's go. Come on. The living entity in whatever species of life he appears finds a particular type of satisfaction in that species. It's great being a pig, right? And he is never averse to being situated in such a condition. Oh, no. Okay. Won't tell the story of Indra. Okay.
We kind of did already in a sense.
Yeah. Except you left out Indra. You told
Yeah, I know. Well, it said that Indra, who's the king of the demigods, once was cursing, had to be a hog, and all the other devas came and said, come on back. It's like, what are you talking about? I got my sewage here. Everything's good.
Everything's great. Such the conditioned living entity is satisfied in his own particular species of life, while deluded by the covering of the influence of the illusory energy. He feels little inclined to cast off his body, even when in hell, for he takes delight in hellish enjoyment. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We know people. We've been in places where this is doing something really crude and grotesque. Even imagine, I don't know if anybody ever smokes cigarettes, but sometimes people who smoke cigarettes, they wake up first thing in the morning, smoke a cigarette. Like, if you don't smoke cigarettes, you're like, that's disgusting. Who would do that? But if you do smoke cigarettes or have smoked cigarettes, you realize that's completely normal, right? As we refine ourselves to sattva guna, tamaguna seems like repulsive. You're like, keep going.
Yes.
Keep going. We're on a timer here.
So now the next verses are gonna help explain, like, how could someone be lost if they're in a terrible situation, not realizing. But the fact is, our attachments in life tend to cloud our clarity. So even if we're in a species where it's a really unfortunate situation to be in, that pig or whatever other animal, it has certain attachments, and those attachments cloud our clarity of what my potential is. So wherever we're finding that satisfaction, we're trying to taste it and saying, leave me alone. There's satisfaction here for me. Leave me alone and let me taste it. Right.
This is big stuff. Yeah.
And now it's going to talk about the kind of big, the big issues that cause our deep-rooted attachments.
Deep-rooted. Such satisfaction with one's standard of living is due to deep-rooted attraction for body. My own body. Right? For my spouse, it says wife, but right, for your spouse, right? For your children, for your animals. I'm a little attached. Some people are like, well, I have no children. You got an animal, right? You got your dog, your lap dog, you're attached to that dog, right? Although Mary doesn't have kids or a pet.
She's got us. No,
She's got a house.
That's right.
Actually, it doesn't say house on this one.
It does.
Animals,
It says
wealth.
Body, wife, home, children,
Home,
animals,
yeah,
wealth,
she has a
friends.
home. Wealth and friends. In such association, the conditioned soul thinks himself quite perfect. So here's what we're doing. The Bhagavatam, it starts to strip away all these things that we're attached to, the obvious things that are really veering us off our course. And then it starts to strip away these things which they don't seem so bad. Can I be attached to my spouse? Can I be attached to my body? Right? We should be. I'm doing yoga. That's why I got on this podcast in the first place. Right? Our children. It's good to love your children. I'm not much wrong with petting my dog. Right? But the idea is that there is nothing except you and God. And it's just drilling that in the most refined sense of who we are. That doesn't mean we should abandon all these things, but we have to see them in the appropriate perspective, in the appropriate priority list.
Okay.
Kaustubha?
Yeah. It's text 6, 7, and 8 now.
Okay. All right. Keep going. That's a nice way of saying run along. Text 7. Although he was.
We just lost Raghunath.
Oh no.
I guess he'll be back in a second. Maybe is it a storm up there or something?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, I'll read text 6 and 7. Maybe Krishna's helping me keep moving this thing along. So text 7 reads, although he is always burning with anxiety, such a fool always performs all kinds of mischievous activities with the hope, which is never to be fulfilled, in order to maintain their so-called family and society. And I think that's so important, because I think, quite frankly, we tend to live in a fantasy world all the time. It's a fantasy world where, like, everything's perfect and all these desires are being fulfilled. I think if you speak to like to a Freudian psychologist, they'll say it has a lot of it is sexual. This kind of and how long do we pass through a day before we enter into that fantasy world again? So we're full of desires, and really those desires never become perfectly fulfilled. So we're burning with anxiety. Text 8 says, he gives his heart and senses to a woman. And as Raghunath was saying, it can, whether it's man or woman or whatever, we give our heart to someone who falsely charms them with Maya, with illusion. They enjoy solitary embraces and talking and are enchanted by the sweet words of the small children. Okay, now we're not saying not to love your children, not to love your spouse, but the idea is that we do get lost in trying to enjoy this particular taste when really we're meant for so much more. A deeper kind of love, a deeper kind of spiritual connection. And did we get Raghu back, or is he still out there, Mary?
I don't think he's back yet.
Okay. Now texts 7 through, or we read 7, 8, now text 9. And now the anxiety that one feels because of their attachment starts to be spoken of. The attached householder remains in their family life, which is full of diplomacy and politics, always spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification. They act just to counteract the reactions to all of their miseries. And if they can successfully counteract such miseries, then they think they're happy, right? Miseries of heat, miseries of cold, miseries of hunger, miseries of arguments and tensions and so on. And if we can mitigate that a little bit, we say, okay, now everything's good. They secure money by committing violence here and there, right? Violence, and that may not even be like physical violence, but it may just be like, we're harming others in the way that we make our money. So they secure money by committing violence here and there. And although they employ it in service of family, they themselves eat only a little portion of the food purchased, and they go to hell for those for whom they earn the money in such an irregular way. So we have to pay the price for all that we do. I've become attached to my family. I see them as the source of my happiness. I go out and commit violence in order to support them, and then I have to pay the price for it. When they suffer reverses in their occupation, they try again and again to improve themselves. But when they are baffled in all attempts and is ruined, they accept money from others because of excessive greed. Thus the unfortunate man, unsuccessful in maintaining his family members, is bereft of all beauty. He always thinks of his failure, grieving very deeply. Seeing him unable to support them, his wife and others do not treat him with the same respect as before, even as miserly farmers do not accord the same treatment to their old and worn-out oxen. Now, again, this may sound very negative, but you can speak to a lot of people. Just spend a day in the divorce courts, and you'll see. You're going to hear a lot of stuff like this. It was beautiful. It was one day it was a beautiful picture of happiness, and the next, all that love somehow disappeared. All that appreciation, all that respect is gone, and so many people go through this. The foolish family man does not become averse to family life, although he is maintained by those whom he once maintained. Now he's old. Now he can't go out there and work anymore. Now he's dependent to be supported. Deformed by the influence of old age, he prepares himself to meet ultimate death. And remember, we started this chapter with this verse about the cloud doesn't know that the wind's blowing it here or there, but it's getting blown all around. And time is blowing us all around. It's blowing us in youth. We're getting married, we're having children, everything seems good, but that wind is blowing. It's blowing us towards different kinds of tensions and different kinds of conflicts and different kinds of successes, but then different kind of failures and pleasures, but then pains, and then ultimately towards old age, and there's no escaping it.
Hi, I'm back.
There he's back. Okay. Welcome back, Raghunath.
Sorry about that. I needed some time.
Oh, is it a battery issue?
I needed a break. Everything was just shut down. But I missed all these good verses.
Oh, man, it's been heavy, Raghu. It's been heavy.
It's one of those, and I think, Kaustubha, you and me see this happen a lot because we've been around and sort of like in, we see people when we were young who got into bhakti and they got really serious about it, and then they disappear sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then you see them at a later phase of life, and they just been, you don't understand what I've been through. It's been like a dream for the last 20 years. And they have some wake-up call, some beautiful, horrible, wonderful wake-up call where they're like, I'm back. I got off and I'm back. Right. And it something clicks in with them, and due to the softness of their heart, Sometimes they had to take, a big detour to get back on the road.
True.
And it's great. It's great. All right, which verse are you
Text
on?
15. Read.
Man, I missed all these. You're just cruising through these verses.
Yeah, that's what we need
You're
to do.
like, Raghu's not
Follow
here. Let's
2
go. Let's
chapters.
fly.
So read 15 through 18. This is about old age and disease and then ultimately death.
Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Thus he remains at home just like a pet dog and eats whatever is so negligently given to him, afflicted with many illnesses, such as dyspepsia. What the hell is dyspepsia, Mary?
It's
that's the first one that comes up.
Reactions to a
Dyspepsia.
lifetime of drinking Pepsi. It's really bad.
Dyspepsia.
It's indigestion.
Indigestion.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I relate to that. Such as dyspepsia and loss of appetite. He only eats small morsels of food. That's me. And he becomes an invalid who cannot work anymore.
I'm just, visit all the old age homes, and you're going to see people and I'm like a pet now. I eat whatever they put in front of me. I'm dealing with sickness, and diseases. I'm growing old. I can't eat what I used to eat, even if I have what I want. And, that's, again, the wind is blowing us in this direction. 16. Are you there, Raghu?
Uh-oh, I think he's
He
frozen.
froze. Oh, Raghu. All right. Text 16. In that disease condition, one's eyes bulge due to the pressure of air from within, and his glands become congested with mucus. He has difficulty breathing, and upon exhaling and inhaling, he produces a sound like gora, gora. I wonder what that sounds like. Something like that. Maybe Raghu could help us. Raghu was making sounds last night. You there, Raghu? He's kind of there. He's freezing up like as soon as he gets in. So he's making these sounds and there's a rattling within their throat. In this way, he comes under the clutches of death and lies down, surrounded by lamenting friends and relatives. And although he wants to speak with them, he has some message to say. I want to tell you one more thing. He no longer can because he is under the control of time. Okay, so now that's death. Now we're getting to the scary part. What happens after death? If you haven't lived a pious life, if you've, the name of the chapter is Descriptions by Lord Kapila of Adverse Fruitive Activities. So adverse fruitive activities means bad karma, right? I've lived in ways that are adverse to my happiness, and then I'm suffering the reactions to those actions, which are also adverse to my happiness. So picking up on text 19. At death. Oh, no, hold it. Is that right? Oh, no, text 18. Thus the man who engaged with uncontrolled senses in maintaining a family dies in great grief, seeing his relatives crying. He dies most pathetically, in great pain, and without consciousness. Good morning, Raghu. You there? I see you moving around with a time delay, and I don't hear you speaking. It's not working. I'll keep going. At death. And now I will bring our listeners back to our one of our first interviews that we ever did, which was with Ganesham Das, who was a chaplain. At that time, he was a chaplain in New York Presbyterian Hospital, which meant he's dealing with death every day and counseling people and families that are going through death. And he said that what's being described right now, which may sound like some kind of, fantastic stories, mythology, whatever, about the messengers of death, he said that not only did he regularly hear about people that had seen these beings, that almost died and saw them, but he said that all of the different all of the different counselors in that hospital, ones that have been working there for 40 years, they said so many times they heard people describe these creatures here called the Yamadutas. What's going on, Raghu? Can you hear me at all? No. Okay, so here it goes. At death he sees the messengers of the Lord of Death come before him, their eyes full of wrath, and in great fear he passes stool and urine. As a criminal is arrested for punishment by the constables of the state, a person engaged in criminal sense gratification is similarly arrested by the Yamadutas, who bind him by the neck with strong rope and cover his subtle body so that he may undergo severe punishment. While carried off by by the constables of Yamaraj. Yamaraj is the judge, right? He's the god of death. He is overwhelmed with and trembles in their hands. While passing on the road, he is bitten by dogs, and he can remember the sinful activities of his life. He is thus terribly distressed. Now, you may be thinking, oh, this is some ridiculous story about hell, but just hang on to that thought, because there's going to be a very interesting verse that comes in a little bit later. While carried off by the constables of Yamaraj, he is over. Okay, right there. Text 22. Under the scorching sun, the criminal has to pass through roads of hot sand with forest fires on both sides. He is whipped on the back by the constables because of his inability to walk, and he is afflicted by hunger and thirst. But unfortunately, there's no drinking water, no shelter, no place for rest on the road. And you can see, right, we have these bodies that they become afflicted by hunger, they become afflicted by thirst, they become tired. And then the circumstances that you now have to endure is there's no water, there's no food, there's no shelter, there's no place to rest. While passing on that road to the abode of Yamaraj, he falls down in fatigue, and sometimes he becomes unconscious, but he is forced to rise again. In this way, he is very quickly brought to the presence of Yamaraj. Thus he has to pass 99,000 yojanas. That's like an extremely long distance. Within I think a yojana is like 8 miles or something like that. So multiply that by 99. It may even be much more than that. I'm not sure. So thus he has to pass 99,000 yojanas within 2 or 3 moments. And then he is at once engaged in the torturous punishment which he is destined to suffer. He is placed in the midst of burning pieces of wood, and his limbs are set on fire. In some cases, he is made to eat his own flesh or have it eaten by others. His entrails are pulled out by the hounds and vultures of hell, even though he's still alive to see it, and he's subjected to torment by serpents, scorpions, gnats, and other creatures that bite him. Next, his limbs are lopped off and torn asunder by elephants. He is hurled down from hilltops, and he is held captive either in water or in a cave. Men and women whose lives are built upon indulgence in illicit sex life are put into many kinds of miserable conditions in the hells known as Tamishra, Aditamishra, and Raurava. Lord Kapila continued. And now hear this verse. Are you with me, Raghu? He's there, but he just... it's like he's in another vortex. We can't hear you, Raghunath. I don't know why. He's trying to reach out to us. Now, this verse is important, and this is something that Raghunath shares sometimes. But we've heard these horrible things. Now, you know, having your limbs ripped apart and being killed while you're alive and so on. Now, Kapila says this because maybe his mother was doubting, you know. But this is what he says. He says, "My dear mother," this is text 29, "my dear mother, it is sometimes said that we experience hell or heaven on this planet. For hellish punishments are sometimes visible on this planet also." Right? We see in our old world, you do not need to look very far to see sufferings like this happening all over the place. And I don't mean just the sufferings of like growing old and being in the hospital and dying. I'm talking about the sufferings of like really brutal kinds of sufferings. You see it in the animal kingdom left and right. You know, just get out a magnifying glass and get close to the ground and start looking around. And you're going to see this kind of stuff going on. You know, watch a nature film. You're going to see this kind of stuff going on. You know, Raghunath, he got me, he convinced me to subscribe to this Instagram page called Nature is Metal, which just shows all kind of brutality in nature, right? He's perking up over there, right? He's perking up. And there's one that I just saw like a couple of days ago, and it showed this impala. I think it was impala, which is almost like a little deer or something like that. This little deer was 1 hour old, and a boa constrictor bit it and was wrapping itself around it. And meanwhile, while its lower body has been bit and is getting wrapped up by the boa constrictor, a jackal comes along. And the jackal just like bites it like right in the neck. So now it's being bitten by a boa constrictor. It's being bitten by a jackal, and it's getting just ripped apart. We see this kind of stuff happening in this world. So why should it be so unbelievable that it happens in other worlds? And well, why would we have to go through this? What could someone possibly do to deserve this kind of stuff? You don't have to look very far for that either. What kind of action would I do that would make, for instance, me have to live through someone eating my flesh. Well, that's not so hard to see, right? Because you just look at, we've created hell in this world. We've created hell in this world for other beings, and especially in the form of these massive factory farms and slaughterhouses, where innocent, conscious, sentient beings are being forced through the kind of hells that we're reading about right here. And so the law of karma is just saying that what you put out, you go through it again yourself. It's not the kind of live in hell forever kind of religious doctrine that we might have heard of at some point in our lives. But this is just saying that, what you get, what you give out, it comes back, and then you have an opportunity again to improve yourself.
I can't believe I'm missing out on all these verses.
Sorry about that.
My internet got dead, so now I'm just riding on my one bar I have at the farm on my phone.
Well, it's working.
I know, but these are good points. I know this is a really hellish situation. And before my internet shut down, someone wrote on the board, I think it was Materialist. Can you read that, Mara? I can't read it.
Yeah, it's always hard for me to hear such things because I really can't understand why such suffering is really necessary and how compassionate beings can tolerate such torture of others.
Yeah, what do we do? Why? Can't we learn a lesson without getting our limbs torn off by elephants? What to speak of those damn gnats? Man, I don't want my body bit by gnats. No one likes that. Kaustubha, enlighten us.
In other words, why does there have to be so much suffering?
A little suffering, Yeah, okay, you're going to get cold. You're going to get hot. You're going to walk on hot sand for 20 minutes. But why? Why do my limbs have to be pulled off for me to learn a lesson?
Well, it appears that, I guess the question really should be pointed back to us. It's like, why do we have to go through this to learn the lesson? But apparently we do.
Oh, that's a good point. Why am I blaming everybody else for my lessons?
Yeah. Why do I have to be punished? Again, these, we're capable of enduring suffering. And that suffering is here one moment and then it's gone. Now intelligent people learn from suffering, and people that are less intelligent don't. But from our own perspective, we need to look out into the world and we need to see the suffering. And we need to look at the problems of disease and old age and ultimately death. We need to look at it clearly in order to get the motive to say, I need to break free from this. This is unnatural, right? So we've chosen to enter into the virtual reality. It's kind of like I said to you before, Raghunath. Imagine you said to me, I want to experience a fantasy world. I want to go into a virtual reality where I can have all my desires fulfilled. That the desires that I can't have fulfilled in the real world, I want to have fulfilled in a virtual world. I could create that virtual reality for you. And if I did it in a way where it's so realistic and you were enjoying the things that you wanted to enjoy, you might lose touch with reality that's beyond that and not want to leave it. But if I knew that actually you had so much more potential outside the virtual reality in the real world, I might have to find ways to remind you that this is not your home, right?
Right.
And when I do that,
because it's very easy. It's very easy to think that the virtual world is real, and we're deeply rooted in a virtual reality. So unless we have that juxtaposition to understand, no, you're messing around. It's a sweet apple, but it's got a razor blade in it.
Yeah.
And also, I was thinking, when there is suffering, it allows us if we're not supposed to say suffering as bad, it allows others to practice virtue, compassion, things we need to get out of the virtual reality. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it allows others to practice those things which are the escape mechanisms of the virtual reality. Mm.
Yeah. I was just seeing I don't know if it was that Nature's Metal thing too, but it was showing one ant, how you have these different ants and they're different colors,
Yeah.
And there's one ant, it was a red ant, and it was getting attacked by all these black ants. And I think the ants have 6 legs, right? And there was an ant grabbing every limb of its body. It was a red ant and it had a black ant on every leg, pulling it, And then all the other ants are just
I knew you would like
biting
this
it and
Instagram
biting it and
account.
biting it. Yeah, but it's this hell is here on Earth. We're seeing it
Yeah.
all the time. We're just, but we're just walking around totally callous to it. You know, and I'm not saying that we have to like start like breaking down over every ant that's good, but like let's see it. Let's wake up. You know,
It's to analyze the world
Yeah, let's
it is.
sober up. Right.
Sober up. Get the filters off the material world.
Okay.
Sometimes we try to create extra filters. That's what sort of sense gratification is creating
Right.
extra filters. The material world is already filled with Maya. Let's create more filters
Right.
so we can pretend.
Okay.
All right.
So 5 more verses. Why don't you just blow right through these?
All right. What number
Text
did
30.
we?
We're on text 30 now.
Okay, man, you really burned through this. After leaving this body, the man who maintained himself and his family members by inappropriate activities suffers a hellish life, and his relatives also suffer. They go through the darkest regions of hell. You know, we use these words, hell. We mean like
Suffering.
you can see hell on this planet. You can see it in the ants getting killed by the other ants. You know, so it's not just a fireball with a little demon and a pitchfork poking at you. There's hell on earth. But he goes through these darkest regions of hell after quitting the present body. And the money they have acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money which they leave this world. What does that mean?
That's a big verse. In other words, I'm
passage.
working hard. I'm hurting others to gain this money. And what do I end up using that money for? Because I die and I still have this big bank account. With that money, I purchased my trip to hell. It's like that.
Ooh, that's the fare.
That's what you spend it on.
Right. Yeah. Thus, by the arrangement of the personality of Godhead, the maintainer of kinsmen is put into a hellish condition to suffer for their inappropriate activities,
Adverse,
like the
let's
man.
say. Adverse karma.
Adverse. Right.
That's the name of the
like
chapter,
a,
right?
Like
Adverse
a person
karma.
who has lost their wealth. Why does that sound like, what's wrong with this? The maintainer of kinsmen. That's a
we've
good
heard
thing.
about.
I'm maintaining my kinsmen. I'm a good person.
But you did it the way that you did it is like everybody is your kinsman, but you decided that I'm going to, inflict suffering on these kinsmen in order to care for these other kinsmen. Right? I don't care about hurting other people in the world as long as I'm taking care of my own family. I don't care about screwing over every other nation in the world as long as like my nation's number one. You know, it's like that.
Like Mara's previous life. We're not going to get into it here.
Oh, is
crazy
this a palm
past.
reader or something?
Oh man, you don't even talk. Don't even talk. Mara knows exactly what this verse means from her previous life. Therefore, a person who's very eager to maintain family and kinsmen simply by black methods and illegal methods, right? Certainly goes to the darkest regions of hell, which is known as Anda Tamishra. Anda Tamishra.
Having gone.
You want me to finish it? Okay, I'm trying to. Having gone through all the miserable hellish conditions and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life prior to human birth, right? And having thus been purged, one is reborn again as a human being on this earth planet. So this is
okay.
This
you
is
paid your karmic price now,
right?
Or
and all that happens like a dream.
Yeah.
If you've had a dream last night and it seemed very real, sometimes you go from one incredible, wonderful dream, everything was working out great, and then ever have one of those dreams at night where it's a great dream and all of a sudden something evil happens and becomes like a nightmare? It started off a great dream and then all of a sudden there's like an evil element. Ever have that happen?
Yeah,
Come on.
I suppose so.
Come on. The good dream turns to bad. Well, this has been going on. All these different births, and you wake up and it's like you don't even remember the dream, but but it's affecting us. So in the same way, we pass through all these species of life. We pass through even in this body. I've had relationships and friendships and lovers and children in our life that sometimes grow up and move away. Right? We've had so many experiences. We've been through elementary school, junior high school, and high school, and now sitting at my desk at age 55. Everything's sort of blurry. Got a few photographs and a book, and it's all memories. And all I got is God.
Right. Who you neglected all this time. Who's been in your heart the entire time.
Watching my choices, my good choices and my poor choices.
So tune in
Can we
now.
come back? Huh?
So tune in now. That's the point, right? Tune in now.
Yeah.
Don't become
Yeah.
so blinded
Everything-
by external things that you can't tune in now.
All the great amusement parks of life and all the great vacations of life and all the pain we've suffered and broken ankles and whatever you went through in life and pneumonia, whatever we had, it's all a dream right now. All our species, just like all our species of life we've been through, is all sort of dream
It's
like.
here 1 second, it's gone the next.
And then Kaustubha reads the Bhagavatam. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I gotta wake up, put me right back on the path. All right, well, we made it to that chapter, Kaustubha, despite
we're
me
supposed to.
fighting it.
No, but we're supposed to do 2 chapters.
Oh, okay. Well, we made it through 1 chapter.
Yeah, we'll make
But that was
better
a
time
great
tomorrow.
chapter. That needed some commentary.
It
And
did.
fortunately for the group, my internet died, and
So we got
you
through
got
the
to finish
chapter.
it because you would have never finished it if my internet was working.
That's right. So you're gonna have to be really ready tomorrow to like cover
Oh,
some
yeah.
good distance.
I'm totally ready.
Totally right.
Totally
Okay.
ready.
Mara, do we have any takeaways?
We do. You can dance with Maya or rasa dance with Krishna.
Ooh.
Beware
What was
the,
that?
beware the perils of the material world, sinkholes and motorcycle gangs.
Yeah.
Motorcycle gangs. Right.
They're real.
Sinkholes.
Motorcycle gangs will screw with you.
Our attachments are clouding our clarity.
Yeah.
We're being
Yeah.
falsely charmed by Maya.
Yeah.
We experience hell or heaven on this planet.
Yes.
Why am I blaming everyone else for my lessons?
Take
Oh
responsibility?
yeah. Take radical responsibility.
Radical responsibility. Our suffering allows others the opportunity to practice compassion. And tune in now.
Tune in now.
You know, I'm glad we've really started working this analogy of the sinkhole, Kaustubha.
The sinkhole. I don't know if I
You know
know
why?
that.
Because for years no one spoke about sinkholes. They've become more in the public eye recently, I feel. In the
Well,
last
that's probably because you just belong to like sink, like at
I follow
sinkhole or
hashtag
something.
sinkholes,
Like
that's for sure.
Okay.
But not only that, I just feel like they represent security in the material world, and all of a sudden the bottom goes out, and all of a sudden you lose your house, or you're driving and cars fall into sinkholes, or some sinkholes are due to fracking. Rebecca Noel says, "Okay, that wasn't my point, Rebecca, but thanks for that tip, anti-frackers." It just represents an insecurity in something that we thought was so secure.
Thank you for that, Rilla.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I was really going to say that over the music, but the music never came in, so
Oh, sorry. Okay.
there was no easy way out there. Thanks everybody for joining us.
7 a.m. tomorrow Eastern time. There's a change.
Somebody's got to
Flipping.
remind me. Somebody's got to remind me too.
We're on it.
Are you on that?
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Sorry about my internet today, but it was good to see. We had like over 108 people
Oh, good.
today live. If you want to join us live on Zoom, you can do that. You just got to email Mara, lisbonthesages108@gmail.com. Don't yawn, Mara.
Sorry.
Are we boring you? Is sacred
Just a little
literature
sleepy.
boring you?
Just a little sleepy. I'm sorry.
A little sleepy. I know. I was driving home last night. I got real sleepy real quick. I had my daughter drive.
Oh, yeah, there you go. You got a new driver now.
Good.
I got a new driver. My
How far
daughter's
is Rocco
16.
behind?
Rocco is going to turn 15 in February.
Okay, so we got just over a year he'll be driving.
I know. It's all happening. The time factor is marching on. My face is melting. My nose
Your face
is
is
healing.
coming back. It's
My
rejuvenating.
beard is whitening.
But your nose is coming back.
Should I grow my hair out and comb it over?
No.
Oh.
Don't do
It
that.
might make me look immensely younger.
No, it will not do that, actually. It'll do the exact opposite, actually.
One long thing of hair
Flop.
on one side, combed over.
Wrap
You
it
know
around.
why? Because Madhu sent me this picture of myself with a wig on. He like
Oh, you're like, that's pretty
photoshopped
good.
it. And I looked very good. I looked very, very good. I had like a nice, welly trimmed mustache. Oh, there's my daughter. Good morning.